The voice in the ashes, the city burned with a light that was not its own. Orange fire rolled across the skyline, carried by winds that smelled of scorched stone and blood. Smoke curled like claws into the alien night sky, blotting out the stars. Sirens wailed in broken tones. Towers of glass and steel toppled one by one, each fall echoing like the final beat of a great heart. Amid the ruin, an old transmitter pulsed with life. Its skeletal antennae stabbed upward, humming faintly. From within its cracked housing, a voice spoke human, raw, and unyielding. To those who hear this, we tried to warn you. The voice carried across open frequencies. It bled into enemy channels, pirate relays, even children's storycasters. 1 billion ears would hear before the night was through. You thought us broken. You thought we were simple prey. But in striking us, you've brought your own destruction. The broadcast was steady, calm, but the edges shook with suppressed. Fury dots somewhere deep in the ruins. Beneath fractured concrete and twisted beams, a man hunched over the transmitter. His hair was gray at the temples, his face scarred, his body worn by too many years of war. His name was Marcus Hall, once an engineer, then a soldier, now something in between. Beside him, wings shivered in the smoke. Kelith, a slender alien of the Varuan species, crouched at his side. Her skin shimmered faint silver in the dim glow, her 4 dark eyes reflecting the flames. Where Marcus's hands were steady on the controls, hers trembled. "Marcus," she whispered, "they'll trace the signal. You'll bring them down on us." "They're already here," Marcus said. He didn't look up. His fingers tapped the board, rerouting power into the transmitter's failing core. Sparks jumped, biting his skin, but he kept speaking into the mic. "You wanted us silent. You wanted us gone. But humanity never dies quietly." The last word, carried like a blade through the static. Kelith swallowed hard. She had seen broadcasts before declarations of surrender, desperate pleas, propaganda to paint one side as heroes and the other as monsters. But this voice, this was something else. It wasn't begging. It wasn't lying. It was warning, she whispered. "If they hear you..." Marcus finally looked at her. His gray eyes were tired but sharp, like steel left too long in the fire. "Good," he said. The ground shook. Somewhere above them, another building fell, dust sifting through cracks in the ceiling. Kelith flinched, her wings folding tight. Marcus kept talking, his voice filling every channel it could reach. "This message is for the Varan Dominion. You thought you broke Earth. You thought you erased us. You left nothing but ash. But listen closely, ash hides embers. Embers burn, and fire spreads." Kelith's breathing quickened. She was Varan born. She knew what would happen if Dominion Command heard this. The punishment for treason, for even listening, was death. And yet, she didn't stop him. The broadcast cut deeper into the static, threading its way across half the planet. On ships, orbiting above, alien officers froze mid-step, listening. In command halls of polished obsidian, admirals scowled and barked orders. In slums and marketplaces, common folk looked up, stunned, as the strange human words poured into their lives. Marcus leaned closer to the mic, voice steady. "You brought war to our doorstep. You thought us weak. But we are builders, survivors, fighters. You thought this was the end. No, this is only the beginning. Humanity is coming for you. And when we do, you'll remember this broadcast." The transmitter groaned, its circuits overheating. Kelith reached out, grabbing his wrist. "Marcus, stop. If you keep pushing, the core will blow. We'll both." Before she could finish, the ground shuddered again, stronger, closer. The ceiling cracked, dust rained down. A deep, grinding sound rolled through the earth. Calith's 4 eyes went wide. She whispered one word, trembling. "They've found us." Marcus's hand didn't move from the mic. He spoke one last line into the storm. "Humanity's last broadcast is not a plea. It's a warning. You brought your own destruction." The transmitter flared, sending the signal farther, brighter, unstoppable, just as the ceiling above split wide and armored shadows dropped into the ruins. The Dominion had arrived. Asterisk. The hunters in the smoke boots thundered against shattered stone. Dominion soldiers moved like a living wall-black armor glinting in the firelight, rifles humming with caged plasma. Their visors glowed red as they advanced into the ruins, cutting through smoke with brutal precision. Calith pulled Marcus back against a cracked support beam. Her wings shuddered in panic, but her voice was sharp. "Too many," she hissed. "We can't fight them." Marcus's eyes flicked across the rubble. Crumbling floors, broken walls, tangled steel. He saw not a battlefield, but a machine waiting to be triggered. "Maybe we don't have to," he muttered. He shoved a half-broken satchel into Calith's arms. Inside, coils of wire, scrap explosives, and a jury-rigged detonator. Her 4 eyes widened. "You carry bombs into everything?" She whispered in disbelief. "Engineer's habit," Marcus said grimly. A Dominion officer's voice boomed through. "The ruins. Human, we know you are here. Surrender, and your death will be swift. Resist, and we'll drag it out. No one is coming to save you." Calith stiffened at the words. It was the Dominion way, always broadcasting their threats, grinding down hope. She had heard such ultimatums since childhood, but Marcus didn't flinch. He pressed wires into a cracked support column, hands moving fast despite the tremor in his fingers. "They always say that," he muttered, "and they're always wrong." The first squad of Dominion soldiers advanced into the chamber. Their rifles swept side to side, beams slicing through the haze. Calith's breath caught as one of the lights passed inches from her face. Then Marcus yanked her down a collapsed stairwell. The soldiers turned too late. With a low rumble, the rigged support gave way. Entire slabs of concrete crashed down, crushing half the squad beneath tons of rubble. Fire bloomed from hidden charges, scattering the rest. The ruins shook like a dying beast. Calith stumbled, coughing from dust and smoke. Marcus dragged her upright, his scarred hand gripping hers tight. "Move," he barked. They slipped through the cracks, just as plasma fire chewed into the walls behind them. The tunnels beneath. The ruins were a labyrinth of steel bones and ash. Shadows stretched endlessly, broken only by flickers of fire from the surface above. Marcus led with grim certainty, mapping the ruins in his head like blueprints. Calith followed close, every sense straining for pursuit. "Why do you keep fighting?" she asked breathlessly. Marcus didn't slow. "Because the day I stop is the day humanity's really gone." His words hit her harder than the quake above. She had seen Dominion propaganda. Images of Earth burning, the human fleets shattered, survivors scattered like dust. She had believed them all dead or worse, broken. Yet here was one man, battered but unbent, dragging her through fire as though carrying the weight of an entire species. And for the first time in her life, Calith wondered if the Dominion had lied. Behind them, Dominion squads regrouped. Their officer knelt by the crushed remains of his soldiers, red visor glowing brighter. His voice was venom in the combs. "The human lives," he snarled. "Purge every tunnel. Burn them out." Dozens of visors blinked red in acknowledgement. The hunt resumed. Hours blurred in smoke and silence. Marcus and Calith crawled through tunnels where the air was so thick it scraped their throats raw. The deeper they went, the colder it grew past the warmth of fire, into the chill of forgotten chambers. At last, they collapsed in a hollow pocket of stone, their breaths fogging in the stale air. Calith leaned against the wall, exhausted. "We." Can't outrun them forever. They'll sweep every passage. Marcus sat opposite, shoulders heaving. His face was streaked with ash, his gray eyes burning like coals in the dark. "I know," he admitted. She studied him, her 4 eyes narrowing. "Then why do you look like you already have a plan?" Marcus gave a grim smile. "Because I do." Before Keleth could press him, a distant sound rolled through the tunnels. Not the sharp crack of plasma, not the march of boots, something else. Voice, faint, distorted, but unmistakably human. Keleth froze. "That's impossible." Marcus surged to his feet, heart pounding. The sound was broken, like old glass underfoot, but it was their human words, carried by a hidden cum buried deep in the earth. "A survivor's signal?" Keleth whispered. "There are others?" Marcus's eyes burned brighter. "I told you," he said softly. "Humanity doesn't die quietly." The signal pulsed again, stronger this time. A call for help. A beacon. But above them, Dominion troops closed in. Their scanners were already sniffing out the same signal. 2 paths lay ahead. Flee deeper to find the survivors. Or fight and die in the tunnels. Marcus clenched his fists. "We find them," he said. "No matter what." Keleth hesitated then. Nodded. And as the Dominion sealed every exit behind them, the 2 plunged deeper into the dark, chasing the fragile spark of humanity's survival. Ashes of earth. The tunnels stretched endlessly, carved long ago for purposes no one remembered. The walls were scarred with ancient tools, then scarred again by war. Marcus's boots crunched through dust and broken stone. The faint beacon signal echoed faintly on his cum, leading them deeper like a heartbeat. Keleth followed close, her wings brushing the low ceiling. Her breathing was tight, sharp, as if the dark pressed against her lungs. "Marcus," she whispered, "what if it's a trap?" "Then we spring it," he muttered, eyes forward. The further they went, the stronger the signal became. It carried broken words, now distorted, but human. Help, survivors, trapped, food. Running out. Keleth's stomach twisted. This was no clever trick. It was desperation. She studied Marcus's face in the dim glow of his wristlight. His jaw was clenched, his eyes hard. But behind the steel, she saw something else. A flicker of hope. She hated how it stirred her own chest. After hours of winding paths, they reached a sealed blast door, half buried in rubble. The signal came from within. Marcus pressed his ear to the cold metal, listening. Faint scratches answered. From the other side. "Still alive," he breathed. Keleth's throat tightened. She reached out, touching the steel. She could feel the faint vibrations. Someone trapped. Someone clinging. Marcus dropped to his knees and pulled tools from his satchel. Wires, clamps, a fusion cutter salvaged from Dominion scrap. His hands moved with mechanical precision. "Stand watch," he said. Keleth obeyed, her eyes flicking nervously down the tunnel. Shadows shifted. Echoes played tricks. She thought of the Dominion hunters above, relentless and merciless. She thought of her own family, loyal Dominion officers. Who would call her traitor for even being here? And then she thought of the scratching hands behind the boss door. For the first time in her life, the Dominion's words felt. Wrong. With a final spark, the door groaned. Metal split, and a narrow gap opened. A stale rush of air spilled out, heavy with the smell of unwashed bodies and recycled oxygen. From the darkness inside, a voice croaked. "Who's there?" Marcus leaned into the gap, heart hammering. "Marcus Haw, Earthborn. I'm here to get you out." For a long moment, silence. Then a ragged sob. The door creaked wider, and pale faces appeared. Humans. There were 8 of them, gaunt, hollow-eyed, but alive. 2 children clung to their mother's legs. An older man leaned heavily on a crude crutch. Their clothes were ragged, their skin streaked with grime. When they saw Marcus, their eyes widened. And when they saw Keleth, their faces hardened with fear. "Dominion," one of them hissed. Keleth flinched, wings folding tight. She opened her mouth, but Marcus raised a hand. "She's with me," he said firmly. "She's not Dominion. Not anymore." The survivors exchanged doubtful looks, but none of them argued. The mother whispered, voice trembling, "We thought we were the last." Marcus knelt, his throat thick. "You're not yet." They settled in the cramped shelter, trading water and scraps of ration. Keleth watched, quietly, as Marcus spoke with the survivors. His tone softened, gentler than she'd ever heard it. He asked their names, their story. The old man spoke for them. His voice was brittle, every word heavy with years of grief. "When Earth fell, we were stationed here, thought we'd make a difference, thought the Dominion wouldn't dare attack the homeworld itself. But then," he trailed off, his eyes wet. Marcus leaned forward. "Tell me," the old man swallowed. "We saw the sky burn, fleets, hundreds of ships. The orbital ring shattered in minutes. Cities turned to glass. Billions gone." The children pressed their faces against their mother, whimpering. Keleth stared, frozen. She had heard the Dominion's version of this story. A clean strike. A decisive blow to an enemy that resisted too long. But the way these survivors spoke, she felt the lie unraveling. Marcus's hands curled into fists. His voice was low, shaking. "I was there." The survivors looked at him. Stunned, he stared at the floor, memories dragging him down. "I was in orbit, station mechanic. We thought we'd hold the line until reinforcements arrived, but they never came. Just fire. Endless fire." Keleth watched his face. She had never seen such grief, such raw pain. His voice broke. "My wife, my son, they were down there. I couldn't even reach them. Couldn't even say goodbye." Silence filled the shelter. Even the children stopped whimpering. Keleth's chest ached. She had seen Dominion officers sneer about the conquest of Earth, had heard them mock the weak humans. But here was no weakness. Only a wound so deep it burned brighter than any flame. She whispered, "Marcus, I didn't know." He looked up at her then, and for a moment she thought his fury would consume her. His eyes were sharp, accusing, like knives drawn. But instead of striking, he said only, "No, you didn't." And that hurt worse than any blade. The survivors told more about hiding in the tunnels, scraping together food from ruined caches, listening to broken fragments of human broadcasts until they fell silent one by one. Keleth listened too, every word tearing cracks in the foundation of everything she had been taught. The Dominion hadn't brought order to humanity. They had burned them alive, and she had served them. Marcus rose at last, his shoulders squared. "We can't stay here. Dominion's sweeping the tunnels. They'll find this place." The mother clutched her children tighter. "Where can we go?" Marcus met Keleth's gaze, and for the first time, she didn't look away. "We'll find a way," he said. "But first, we make them pay." A sudden crack echoed down the tunnel. Not a voice, not a quake, a scanner pulse. Keleth's eyes went wide. "They're here." Marcus's jaw set. He grabbed his satchel and yanked open a blast door fully. "Everyone move," he barked. "Now." The survivors stumbled into the tunnel, clutching one another. Marcus led them forward, Keleth at his side. Behind them, red visors flickered in the dark. The Dominion had found their trail. Asterisk the betrayer's truth. Survivors ran. Their ragged breaths filled the tunnels as Marcus guided them through half-collapsed corridors. Dust rained down with every distant blast. The Dominion was closing in relentless, methodical, suffocating. Keleth kept pace at his side, her wings folded tight, her 4 eyes scanning every shadow. She could feel the survivors. Fear pressing on her like a weight. They didn't trust her. They didn't want her here. And deep down, she wasn't sure they were wrong. The group reached an abandoned service hub, a wide chamber where broken generators sat in silence. Cables hanging like vines. Marcus halted, raising his hand. "We rest here, just for a moment." The survivors collapsed gratefully against walls and rubble. Children whimpered softly. The old man's breathing rasped like torn cloth. Keleth hovered near the doorway, tense. She could hear faint echoes. The hunters weren't far. Marcus crouched by one of the generators, pulling open its rusted panels. "We'll need power. Lights. Maybe even comms if I can rewire." But his voice broke when he glanced at Keleth. She stood rigid, staring at the survivors as though she couldn't look away. Her hands trembled. Marcus frowned. "What is it?" Her wings twitched. I know these tunnels." The survivors froze. Keleth swallowed hard. "When Earth fell, my mother served as an advisor to the Dominion High Command. She was there. She helped oversee the occupation of this sector." Marcus's face went white. Keleth forced herself to continue, her voice raw. "I was young, but I was there too. I trained in these tunnels when they were first secured. My family swore loyalty to the Dominion. The old man surged to his feet, eyes blazing. "You knew? You knew, and you walk with us?" The mother shielded her children. "You monster!" Keleth flinched, pain cutting through her chest. Marcus's fists clenched. His eyes were knives now, sharper than before. "Your family was part of Earth's fall?" Her voice cracked. "Yes. My mother said humanity resisted too long. That conquest was mercy. I believed her. I believed all of it." Marcus's scarred hand twitched toward the pistol at his side. The survivors watched, breathless, waiting for him to pass judgment. Keleth lowered her head. "If you mean to kill me, I won't resist." Silence. Then Marcus stepped closer. His shadow fell across her silver skin. His voice was low, shaking with fury. "My wife, my son, they died because of what your family did. Do you understand that?" Tears welled in her eyes. She nodded. "I do, and I will never forgive myself for believing their lies." The room held its breath. Marcus's pistol hovered inches from her chest, and then, slowly, he lowered it. "Good." He rasped. "Because you're going to help fix it." The survivors erupted. "You can't trust her." The old man spat. "She's Dominion filth. She betray us the moment they offer her safety." Marcus turned on him, his voice iron. "She had her chance to run already. She didn't." The old man's eyes burned. "And you'd risk all of us on that?" Marcus's gaze didn't waver. "I'd risk it, because without her, we're already dead." Keleth's throat tightened. He wasn't forgiving her. Not even close. But he wasn't killing her either. That, somehow, was worse. Later, when the survivors slept fitfully, Keleth sat apart in the dark. She traced the cracks in the wall with shaking fingers. Marcus approached quietly, his face hard in the dim light. "Should have told me sooner," he said. Her wings sagged. "I was afraid you'd kill me." "You were right." The words hit her like a blade. He crouched beside her, eyes locked on hers. "If you betray us, if you lead them to us, I will put you down myself. Do you understand?" She nodded, tears streaking her silver skin. "I won't, I swear it." Marcus studied her for a long time. Finally, he said, "Good, because if we're going to survive this, we need each other." For the first time, she believed him. The next hours were a blur of movement. Marcus scavenged from the old generators, building traps from coils and scrap. Keleth guided him through forgotten maintenance passages only she knew. The survivors carried what they could, silent and fearful, but following Dot and always the Dominion. Crept closer. Then, in the silence of one narrow passage, Keleth froze, her 4 eyes locked on something carved into the stone. Not Dominion markings, not human. Older, symbols, etched deep. Faint lines glowing with a light not of fire. Marcus. Touched the wall, frowning. What the hell is this? Keleth's voice trembled. Ancient ruins. From before the Dominion. They told us never to enter. Said it was cursed. Marcus smirked grimly. Perfect. Let's hide in the curse. But as they stepped inside, the glowing symbols pulsed bright, alive. The walls shifted. The ground trembled, and a voice mechanical alien, but unmistakably old, spoke from the depths of the ruin. Unauthorized presence detected. Identify. The survivors gasped. Keleth's wings snapped tight. Marcus raised his weapon, his voice steady. We're human, he said, and we're not leaving. The ruins hummed, symbols flaring brighter, as if considering his words. Then the voice answered, Human, recorded, access granted. Protocol Fire 7 initiating. The floor split open. Light blazed upward. Marcus and Keleth shielded their eyes as something vast awakened beneath their feet. Asterisk. Embers of defiance. The floor yawned open like the jaws of a sleeping beast. Blinding. White light poured from the chasm, swallowing shadows. The survivors stumbled back, shielding their eyes. Keleth's wings pressed tight against her body, trembling. Marcus stood his ground, squinting into the radiance. Within the light, vast. Machinery stirred. Gears older than empires groaned awake. Symbols carved into the walls pulsed in rhythm with a deep, thrumming heartbeat. The ancient voice echoed again, calm yet thunderous. Protocol Fire 7. Contingency activation. Human presence verified. Stand by. Marcus gritted his teeth. What the hell is this? Keleth shook her head, her silver skin pale. I don't know. The Dominion never spoke of this place. If they knew, they buried it. The old man among the survivors leaned forward, awe in his eyes. It's human. Marcus turned sharply. What? The old man nodded. Not Dominion. Not alien, human tech. I saw schematics once classified archives, back before the fall. Old Earth Black projects. They called them ember sites. The chamber rumbled as machinery rose from the light. A massive console emerged, its surface covered in glowing runes that shifted into familiar shapes, human letters, human code. Marcus's heart pounded. Embers, he whispered. Hidden fire. The voice spoke again. Earth contingency. Online. Awaiting human command authority. Every survivor stared at Marcus. The children's wide eyes reflected the glow. The old man's lips trembled in a smile he hadn't worn in years. Keleth turned to him, her 4 eyes full of conflict. It's responding to you. Marcus stepped closer to the console, his scarred hands hovering over the glowing surface. For the first time since Earth fell, he felt not like prey, but like someone holding a weapon. For hours, Marcus worked at the console, guided by half-buried instincts from his days as an engineer. The interface was strange, yet familiar, written in the logic of human hands. He uncovered caches, weapons sealed beneath the ruins, supplies untouched for decades, encrypted frequencies still whispering with dormant signals. The survivors gathered. Close, their hollow faces filling with something dangerous. Hope. Keleth lingered at the edge of the light, torn. She had been raised on Dominion doctrine, taught that humans were fractured, weak, doomed to fade. Yet here was proof that humanity had prepared for its darkest hour planned for survival, even revenge. She whispered, Marcus, what do you intend to do with this? He looked up at her, his gray eyes sharp. What do you think? That night, the survivors feasted on real food for the first time in years, nutrient packs from sealed stores. Children laughed weakly, their voices strange in the echoing chamber. Marcus sat apart, repairing an old rifle scavenged from the cache. Kelith joined him, her wings brushing the stone as she lowered herself beside him. You could leave, she said softly. Take these people, disappear into the deep tunnels, hide, live. Marcus didn't look up. That's not living. That's waiting to die. She tilted her head, studying him. Then what is? His hand stilled on the rifle. His voice was low, fierce. Fighting back. Keleth's throat tightened. He wasn't like Dominion commanders, who sought conquest for pride. His fire burned deeper, born of grief and love, and it terrified her. Days blurred into preparation. Marcus trained the survivors, teaching them how to handle rifles, set charges, move silently. Children learned to carry messages, to watch for patrols. Keleth guided them through old Dominion routes, marking weak points in patrol cycles. Her knowledge, once used to serve the oppressors, became a weapon against them. The first strike came swiftly. Marcus led a team to a Dominion supply convoy crawling through the ruins above. Hidden charges turned the lit vehicle into a ball of fire. Survivors poured from cover, weapons in hand. Plasma rifles were ripped from Dominion claws. Soldiers fell beneath the fury of those they had once called Broken Dot. It wasn't a battle. It was a spark, and the spark spread. Across the tunnels, across the city, whispers grew. The broadcast Marcus had made still lingered on scavenger networks, replayed in secret dens, carried by smugglers. Now there was proof. Humanity lived, and humanity struck back. Dominion officers scoffed at first, but their patrols came home fewer each night. Their convoys burned. Their control frayed. The embers had become flame, but fire attracts attention. One evening, as Marcus pored over the console in the ember sight, Keleth rushed in, breathless. They know, she gasped. The Dominion knows about this place. They're mobilizing entire battalions. The survivors stirred in panic. Marcus's face hardened. Then we finish this before they get here. He entered new commands into the console. Hidden vaults opened across the chamber, revealing heavier weapons, missile tubes, shock grenades, even crude exo-armor suits. The old man whispered, awed, You mean to go to war? Marcus looked around the room, at the gaunt faces now lit by fire, at Keleth, torn but unbroken. No, he said, we're already at war. I mean to win. That night, Dominion com channels crackled with panic. Reports of coordinated human strikes, entire squads missing, explosives planted in supply depots in a high tower of obsidian. A Dominion commander slammed his claws against the table. This is no rabble, he snarled. This is organized. Someone is leading them. The officers exchanged uneasy glances. One whispered, the human from the broadcast. The commander's eyes burned. Find him. Burn him. Erase every ember. Back in the tunnels, Marcus armed himself with scavenged armor and a rifle heavier than anything he'd carried since Earth. Keleth strapped on Dominion gear, stripped from fallen soldiers. The survivors watched, fear and determination etched, equally in their faces. Keleth whispered to Marcus, her voice trembling, If we do this, there's no turning back. Marcus's scarred face broke into the faintest, fiercest smile. There never was. The ember sight rumbled, machinery thrumming like a heartbeat. And above, the Dominion marched to crush them. Asterisk fire in the void. The ruins shook with the sound of war. Dominion battalions poured into the city above, their armored vehicles grinding. Over shattered stone, their dropships blotting out the smoke-filled sky. Towers of black steel anchored themselves into the rubble, turning the city into a fortress. But the humans and their allies were ready. From hidden tunnels, charges detonated. Explosions ripped through supply lines. Snipers struck from broken rooftops. Smoke and fire spread faster than Dominion. Squads could contain Dot. The embers had grown into an inferno. Marcus crouched on a rooftop overlooking the burning streets. His rifle was steady, his scarred hands sure. Below, Dominion soldiers scrambled to contain the chaos. Coleth crouched beside him, Dominion rifle braced against her shoulder. Her silver skin gleamed faintly in the firelight, her 4 eyes sharp. With focus, "You've turned them into soldiers," she said quietly. "No," Marcus muttered, sighting down his rifle. "I've turned them into survivors who know how to fight back." He fired. A Dominion officer crumpled. The street erupted into panic. Kelith fired too, dropping another soldier before they could regroup. The rebellion roared through the city. But Marcus knew they couldn't hold forever. The Dominion's numbers were endless. For every squad they killed, more would land. They needed something bigger, something decisive. And the Ember Sight had given him exactly that. 2 nights later, under the cover of smoke and chaos, Marcus led a strike team through the outskirts of the Dominion stronghold. Kelith flew above, her wings whispering in the dark. The target, a Dominion frigate docked at a makeshift landing pad. Their plan was insane. Outnumbered, outgunned, but if they could take the ship, they'd have the power to spread the rebellion beyond the city, beyond the planet. They reached the perimeter. Marcus signaled with his hand. The survivors moved like shadows, planting charges along fuel lines and defense turrets. Kelith landed beside him, whispering, "The guards are rotating. We have 3 minutes." Marcus gave a grim smile. Plenty of time. The first charges went off. Fire roared through the landing pad. Dominion soldiers scrambled, shouting orders. Marcus and his team surged forward, weapons blazing. Plasma fire cut the night. Survivors screamed and roared, throwing grenades, rushing the enemy with desperate fury. Kelith leapt into the fray, her wings slashing through smoke as she fired from above. Marcus stormed the boarding ramp, every step fueled by the memory of Earth burning. The fight was brutal. Close quarters, hand-to-hand when rifles failed. But one by one, Dominion soldiers fell. At last, Marcus slammed his hand on the ship's controls. The ramp sealed shut. The frigate was theirs. Inside, alarms blared, assistants fought against unauthorized control. Kelith raced to the cockpit, her long fingers flying over Dominion interfaces. Marcus followed, barking orders to the survivors. "Get weapons online. Engines hot. We're lifting off now." The frigate rumbled, straining against Dominion overrides. Kelith hissed through clenched teeth, wings twitching. "They've locked the controls." Marcus shoved beside her, tearing open a maintenance panel. Wires sparked, circuits smoked. His hands moved with an engineer's instinct, bridging Dominion. Systems with human grit. The ship lurched. Engines roared to life. Kelith's eyes widened. "How?" "Because I'm human," Marcus growled. "We fix things, even when they're broken." The frigate tore free from the landing pad, fire and smoke trailing in its wake. But freedom was short-lived. As they broke the atmosphere, Dominion warships turned toward them. Massive cruisers, their hulls bristling with weapons, closing fast. Screamed. Kelith's 4 eyes darted across displays. "We can't outrun them." Marcus strapped into the captain's chair, jaw set. "Then we don't. We fight." He opened the comms. Across the rebellion's frequencies, his voice thundered. "This is Marcus Hawley. We've taken a ship. We're not prey anymore. We're fire, and we're bringing it to the void." The first salvo struck. Shields flared, the frigate shuddering under the impact. Survivors scrambled to weapon stations, firing back with everything the ship could muster. Space lit with fire. Plasma lances, missile trails, debris scattering like sparks in a storm. Marcus gripped the controls, weaving through enemy fire with desperate precision. Keleth worked beside him, rerouting power, keeping shields alive with seconds to spare. "Brace!" she shouted. A Dominion cruiser loomed ahead, its cannons blazing. Marcus gritted his teeth, every muscle tight. Not today. He dove the frigate through a hail of plasma, rolling hard, slipping beneath the cruiser's belly. Keleth slammed a fist on the firing console. Missiles roared free, slamming into the cruiser's engines. The massive ship convulsed, flames ripping through its spine. Survivors on the bridge erupted in cheers, but the celebration was short. Another Dominion cruiser closed in, far larger, its guns charging. Keleth's eyes went wide. "We can't take that." Marcus stared at the behemoth ahead. His mind raced. Options collapsed. Only one remained. He unbuckled, moving to the engineering console. "Marcus?" Keleth called. He glanced back at her, a grim smile on his scarred face. "Keep the ship alive. I'll give us a shot." He plunged his hands into the console, ripping wires, hot wiring systems. Sparks burned his arms, but he didn't stop. He rerouted engine power into weapons. Overloading circuits past safe limits. The frigate shook violently, lights flickering. Keleth's voice trembled. "Marcus, you'll tear us apart." "Better us than the whole rebellion," he snarled. The ship screamed as energy surged into the forward cannons. Marcus roared, slamming the firing controls. A blinding lance of plasma shot forth, tearing through. The void. It struck the Dominion cruiser square in its core. The enemy ship erupted in fire, but the overload ripped through the frigate as well. Consoles exploded. Lights died. The ship tumbled, wounded, spiraling into the black. Marcus was thrown to the deck, smoke choking his lungs. He struggled to rise, ears ringing. Through the haze, he saw Keleth dragging herself to him, her silver skin burned, her wings torn. She fell to her knees beside him, clutching his arm. Her voice was weak, breaking. "You stubborn human." He forced a bloody smile. "Takes one to know one." The frigate spun helplessly, systems failing, as Dominion reinforcements closed from every side. Asterisk Humanity's last broadcast, the frigate was dying. Fires spread through the corridors. Sparks rained from broken panels, and the ship's wounded engines howled as they spun out of control. Beyond the shattered viewport, the blackness of space stretched wide, filled with Dominion warships closing in. The rebellion's first great strike. And it was about to be snuffed out. Marcus Hall pulled himself. Upright, blood dripping into one eye, his chest burning with every breath. Keleth leaned against him, her silver skin scorched, her 4 eyes half closed with exhaustion. Survivors staggered across the ruined bridge, their hope flickering like the failing lights. "We can't run," Keleth whispered. Her voice trembled. Thin but steady. "We can't fight." Marcus wiped blood from his face. His gaze locked on the comms, array half destroyed, flickering with sparks. A thought gripped him. Maybe they couldn't escape, but they could still be heard. He staggered to the console, slamming his hand against the controls. Static hissed. Dominion fire crackled across the void, ships moving into position. Keleth's eyes widened as she realized what he was doing. "Marcus, you can't." He turned to her, a tired smile on his scarred face. "They wanted silence. They wanted fear. But if we speak loud enough, the galaxy will never forget." He ripped open the comms housing, hot wiring circuits with bare hands. Electricity seared his skin, but he didn't stop. His voice would carry, even if his body failed. Keleth knelt beside him, her trembling hands steadying the wires. "Then, let me make sure it reaches them." Together, Human and alien rewired the last lifeline of a dying ship. The comms sparked alive, barely holding. Marcus leaned into the microphone, his voice raw, carried by fury and grief. This is Marcus Haw. Human, survivor, rebel. Static cracked. Then the transmission spread first across the Dominion fleet, then across every listening channel in orbit, and further, piggybacking through communication relays across the sector. They thought humanity was gone. They thought Earth burned to ash. But hear this. You didn't kill us. You woke us. His voice grew stronger, each word cutting like steel. You rule with fear. You enslave with chains. But every chain has a breaking point, and you forged ours in fire. You brought your own destruction the day you came for us. Keleth's hands shook as she stabilized the signal, her eyes fixed on Marcus, awe in her tired gaze. Humanity isn't just a world. It's every refugee who remembers our songs, every mechanic who fixes what you break, every child who grows up under your shadow and learns to defy it. We are not finished. We are not silent. He leaned forward, his voice low and burning with promise. You wanted the last of humanity? Then listen well. This is it. Humanity's last broadcast. And it's a warning. We will not stop. We will not kneel. You brought your own destruction when you made us fight. The words hung in the void, carried across the stars. Dominion warships moved into firing position. Weapons glowed, charging for the killing strike. Keleth pressed a trembling hand against Marcus's chest. Her voice was soft, breaking. You've lit the fire, but someone has to make sure it burns. Before Marcus could answer, she tore free the last power conduit and jammed it into the comms core. The console exploded in light. Keleth screamed, her body convulsing as energy surged through her. The broadcast signal flared, carried far beyond local space, amplified a THOUSANDFOD. Her silver skin cracked with burning light. Wings spread wide like shattered glass. Marcus reached for her, horror in his voice. Keleth, no. Her 4 eyes met his. Pain and peace filled them both. She whispered her final words. For once, I believed in something. Then her body dissolved into radiant ash, consumed by the overload. The comms roared, broadcasting her sacrifice, her defiance, her truth, across the galaxy. Dominion weapons fired. The frigate was consumed in flame, but the message lived. Across 1,000 worlds, slaves and soldiers alike heard humanity's last broadcast. They heard Marcus's words. They felt Keleth's sacrifice. On mining colonies, workers dropped their tools, whispering, the humans fight still. On prison moons, captives lifted their heads, their eyes burning with hope. On rebel ships hiding. In deep space, commanders clenched their fists, swearing to rise again. And even in the halls of the Dominion High Council, silence fell. For the first time in generations, fear shifted, not in the hearts of the oppressed, but in the tyrants. Humanity was gone. Humanity was ashes. Humanity was dust scattered in the void, but humanity's last words echoed forever. You brought your own destruction. And the galaxy knew humanity was not finished. Humanity was coming back. Asterisk.